Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Untangle community webinar on Command Center. Today we'll be walking you through Command Center. If you're not familiar with our cloud-based centralized management solution, which helps you manage your multiple NG Firewall deployments, then this is a great webinar for you. We're going to kind of go over what Command Center does, all the features, as well as upcoming features that are soon coming. My name is Shannon Bonfiglio, and I'm part of the marketing team here. I'll be your host today. I have also with us John Coffin, who is our Director of QA, and he'll be taking us through this presentation and demonstration. Now, before I get started and pass it over to John, just want to reiterate, any audio issues that you may have. If you do select to use a phone, you will need to dial in and use the access code provided. You can also use your computer sound, so just make sure you select the correct preference on the right-hand side. As always, we'll be answering questions throughout this webinar. Please just submit your questions through the Q&A box on the right-hand side. We have a few staff members on hand to help with that. If we don't get to your question, or if you have a very specific question in regards to your network setup, please email us at support@untangle.com. We'd be happy to assist you. And just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, so you will be able to rewatch or revisit areas that you want to follow up on. And with that, I will pass it over to John.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this presentation. Definitely, we have a lot to cover, so we're probably going to go a little quicker than usually we do on these technical webinars. But again, feel free to review the tape. We'll have it over on YouTube shortly after the presentation. Also, feel free to ask questions on our forums. Most of the engineers are on the forums to answer your questions and how we can serve you better on this Command Center. So with that, let's get into the Command Center itself. So what is Command Center? It's a cloud-based centralized management, so you can manage multiple Untangle Firewall deployments easily with one interface. You can have all your threat and history in the Command Center, so you can view them all at once. There's an aggregate dashboard that shows the reports data shown together all in one area for across multiple ones. So if there's like a high demand from one particular Untangle or anything, that will show up clearly because you'll see that one PC that's behind a specific Untangle in your group, creating a lot of traffic. You can also manage the appliances directly through your remote access, and you're able to make changes, get backups if you want to set up a replacement firewall ahead of time before you get to the location. You can actually grab the cloud backup right from this Command Center and enable your device to be ready to go when you go and plug it in. And some of the new features that are coming out, you'll be able to clone, edit, and push policies across your multiple Untangles that are out there. And so it makes it a really easy way to use that. So just again, some of the benefits, you can easily manage multiple sites without additional hardware. It's part of your Untangle account when you signed up with Untangle, and you get all your threat history. You can manage all your licensing, software updates, and we'll go through all this and show you how to do it. And since it's all on one interface, you don't have to log in, you don't have to look at all the passwords, and you're able to use that. It's really great if you're a consultant, you're managing multiple firewalls. Also, if you're MSP or other kind of centralized management consultants like that, you can manage quite a few all in one area. All right, let's take a look at some of the areas of Command Center. So first of all, to log into Command Center, you just go to Untangle and go ahead and sign in to your Untangle account. Let's bring you over here. You'll get a list of all your appliances, first of all. In this case, I have 8 appliances. 7 are online and 1 is offline. You give me my total active hosts across all those appliances, and any kind of block threats at this point. I also have a map of where, at least IP-wise, these boxes are located geographically. And that's all across the world. It makes it kind of nice because you can actually look at a specific one and see what's going on and how many, what the IP is and so forth. And if you're wondering, what's the UID of that specific one, and you can zoom in if you have a, they're not spread out so far, so you can see a better look at where they are. Over here, I'll have all my appliances. It'll show the status. It'll show their IP addresses. It also shows what version they're currently on. As you can see, I still have a few on 13.1.1. In fact, I have 3 of them. And it shows my one that's offline currently, and the last time it was seen. This is kind of useful, like if you have one that goes down, you can kind of correlate, oh, I had a power outage, that's why it's not online, because I can look at the date and then figure out when the power outage occurred at the location. Some of the other things, I can look at my alerts. In this case, I have an alert to send me an email when someone logs into the admin. I can take a closer look at the instructions. So it was a login and it was successful. So I know this is not someone trying to log in with a bad password. And I can do that by just clicking on that. I can also look at any recent hosts that have been added to the particular ones. I can look at the particular item. I can look at the different times of access, what the IP address is of it, and then what the username. And I usually, the username of the device, this is from the DHCP in case, obviously this is a printer, so I know exactly what it is and why it was added to the network. And I can look at, several boxes all at once without logging into each one and seeing what item was logged in. On the other hand here, I can look in and see what my audit history is. What have I done in Command Center? Who logged in, and then what IP address it came from, and what did we do on that IP? Some of the other things, I can look at any block threats. This would be, your virus blocker light, IPS. If it does any kind of blocking on that, you would get results right here. It's quite easy to find out if if one of your particular boxes is having threats without worrying about, did I get an email, did I not get an email? Emails are just not always 100% guaranteed for delivery for whatever reason. I can also look at the bandwidth that's being used from different boxes and so forth. I can see what my, it looks like this particular appliance is really using a lot of the bandwidth. And, it might be something I take a look at. I can look at some of the other ones down here and see what bandwidth is being used here. It looks like most of them are in this kind of low use. And then I might take a look at this particular one because it's quite high, the bandwidth being used. Again, so I have my aggregate reports at this point. This kind of gives me like total, the top applications being used by all the Untangles I have on there. Obviously looks like Gmail and Facebook are probably one of the top things. Microsoft, I'm probably using for Windows updates across the board. Looks like I'm getting a lot of YouTube. SSL is generally encrypted traffic that I can't see. Now, this could be a tunnel, this could be OpenVPN coming in, or it could be just a HTTPS session that I couldn't classify. And I probably could do more classification if I installed SSL Inspector on that. Well, when you see things like Ackmine and so forth, those are just content servers out there that many services use. CNN, for example, has their own content servers and so forth, and Akamai is just going to be one of those. And then, I can look at also like any particular machines on all my untangles that are using most of the bandwidth. It looks like this one's using a large portion of the bandwidth. So I might take a look at that machine and see the particular reports for that. And it tells me the machine and which untangle it's on, so I can look at those individually. Now I can move over to my appliances. And we'll go back to alerts. Don't worry about that. So here's all my appliances that are available online. As you can see, we have one of my the new X series online. So it has a slightly different icon. But I can either go directly to each one of those. I can select a couple of them, and let's say I want to, I can upgrade both of them if the upgrades are available for those. I can do it all at once instead of logging each one, clicking update, then logging on to the next one and clicking update. I can just select multiple ones and click update. That way it's easier for me to schedule my upgrades and get them all done at once. So in this case, I want to take a look at one of them specifically. So maybe I'll take this one. I'll take a look at it. It's on an older version. There's no upgrades available to it at this point because it would say upgrades. Let me give you an example of one that has upgrades. So this one, it's on 13.1.1, but you'll see right next to it, it says upgrades available. Also, you'll notice it's in a different color than the other one. You can also see that on the dashboard. So if we go over here, when it's yellow like orange like this, that means the upgrades are available to the box. So in that case, I could click the upgrade and upgrade it, or I can simply, log into it through this, and it will come up as a separate window. Now in this case, I've set this up so I don't need the password for the particular machines, and really it's a security issue depending on how many people have access. For this specific account, I only have access to it. So I go ahead and told it not to ask for the password for each box as I log in. But you can change that. Let me just go back to that. So if I go to my account, I can go into my settings. So there's a couple things we can do here. Let me just go over some of the security features. I can enable remote access on or off. If I don't want people to be able to log in the boxes, I just want them to see the account, see the aggregate, I can make that selection. If I want people to have to know the password for specific machines, I'll go ahead and uncheck this, because otherwise, since I'm the only one that has account to this, I've go ahead and had automatic login, so it lets me in the machine once I log into this interface directly. The other thing you can do for the login to your command center is you can do multi-factor authentication. And what this will do is send you a code through the email to allow the login to complete. So you'll need the password for your command center. You'll get an email with a code, and then you plug in that code, and that will allow you to actually log in. So it's a requested feature that a lot of people have asked for high security installations and things like that. So I want to go back to that. So once that's gone, so as you can see, I can log into my remote machines through this. This is pretty much shows me everything to do with that specific machine. I can look at, see how the CPU load is. Importantly, I want to see how full my hard disk is, because this one has a very small hard disk on purpose. And I can look to see how my licensing is, if I need to get more licenses. It looks like all the licenses go through 2019, so I'm good with that. Any alerts that I've set up, And again, we'll go back to alerts. I'll have a complete log of them here. And this is specific to this appliance only. So while the other one had an aggregate of all these, this has specific threats from that appliance. I can download a backup of this machine, because let's say I'm going to go replace it, but I don't want to do all the work while I'm at the location. So I'll go ahead and download the backup, set up a new machine, pre-configure it. That way I can carry it, bring it to the customer site, install it, and then I'm done very quickly, very short time there at the location of that particular box. I can look at my bandwidth. This particular box has had very little bandwidth at the time. Also, I can get my top location, domain, so forth, kind of everything I could do normally on the box. So if we go to the box itself, my session probably ran out during the call. So a lot of times you might want to refresh it if you're having an issue, because sometimes the session will time out, and that's a security feature, because we don't want people to leave their window open and it doesn't log in. So I'll go ahead and try it one more time. This box has some finicky logins, so sometimes it doesn't always log in very carefully. Okay, so we're logged into that box now. And now I can, like, if I just went to the direct site, this is really useful too if you're in bridge mode, because your particular ISP router is handling the NAT, the routing. So you wouldn't be able to access it directly. Command Center will give you that ability, because the Untangle box actually calls out to your account and makes an encrypted session to your account, so you can access this box. So this is kind of useful, like when you have it in bridge mode and you really have no way of accessing directly through the internet. This will give you full access to the interface. Also, some people like it because they don't have to leave HTTPS open out to the internet. They can leave that closed off, which is the default, in case you don't know how that's done. Is if you go to networking, advanced, and access rules, by default, HTTPS on the WAN is closed and it doesn't allow connection. So with Command Center, you'll be able to access it, even in the default, which is no access from the WAN and so forth. So you'll be able to access that through. All right. So that's a lot of things you can do that. Some of the other areas, alerts. So alerts are kind of an important thing, because a lot of times you don't have the time to keep an eye on it, every one of your boxes directly, especially when you start getting past 2 or 3 boxes. It's very difficult to keep all of them up on your screen and keep an eye on them and so forth. So you can develop rules on alerts that will either email you, or there's various operations for notifications. So if we take a look at this, let's look at the, so you can get an email on it. You can do a webhook, so you can develop programming for your website, so you can manage all of them, all the alerts on that. For those that use Slack, it can put notifications for your Slack right directly to that. If you have PagerDuty, you can send messages to the pager, and I have not used this personally, the Victor Ops. It's another way of communicating problems with your entangles and so forth. Anyways, you can configure a profile for each one. Let's take a look at this one. So in this case, I've just done an email. I'm going to email myself, and then I'm going to, in this case, I just put a subject of test message, and I put in these variables to tell me this is the information I want in this alert email. So I'll go ahead here and go to my alert. So if I go to my alerts on this particular box, so I've created an alert. I want an alert every time somebody logs into this box. So I simply create an alert of class admin that comes down from your drop-in. You don't have to remember this. And then you'll get different options that you can go. And I wanted to see if it succeeded, the login is succeeded. So I went ahead and put true. And this box now has a notification for that. So I'll take this class. So anytime I get a class notification on this box that I want Command Center to also notify me, because let's say I'm also having this on Slack. So what I'll do is create a rule here, create a test rule, and here I put in my rule, and this can be anything that's in that JSON. In my case, I just put a very generic login event. I'm going to make this active. You can disable it or active, depending if there's times when you want to say it. And then I'll have a selection of all my notification profiles. In this case, I only have one profile email, but you could select, I have a Slack profile, or I want to send it to the webhook that I have for my programmed status page. And I can select those and set that and save. And so when someone logs into this box and succeeds, I'll get a notification on that through this command center. And I also will have logs based on that login and so forth. So again, very powerful tool that you can create rules for multiple boxes and get all those results in one location. Makes it quite easy to use. So we have the appliances we kind of went over. Let's take a quick look here. We went over the benefits, alerts, appliances, bulk upgrades, probably my favorite feature. Just when logging into so many boxes and hitting upgrade, it became so nice to use Command Center. I really like the Appliance Dashboard that I can take a quick look by just literally clicking through each one and getting a quick update on what's going on in the box, how's the CPU, how's the disk. It's so easy to kind of get an idea quickly, because even switching tabs, it's a little harder. There's a little bit of redraw on this, and Command Center just takes care of that for you. So going back, again, it's a really secure remote access. You don't have to have your WAN exposed to the internet where people will be trying to guess your password over and over. While they won't get in, especially if you put a decent password on there, it does take CPU cycles for your Untangle to have it open to the internet and possible threats on that. So with this, this is a VPN tunnel back to the Untangle servers where it creates a secured login for it, and you don't have any problems with that. Again, you have a whole list of alerts that particular box had, and any problems that they're having, any kind of threats or any kind of malicious actions on those. And let's take a look. Policies. So this is probably one of the newest features in Command Center. And again, we're constantly adding new features to Command Center, and they just get rolled out, and there's no need to upgrade. One thing I would say, in order to push out policies out to your boxes, they do all need to be on the same version. So it's kind of important, if you're a regular Command Center user, that you upgrade all your boxes at once instead of one at a time. For those who are asking about 13.2 upgrades, we're currently rolling those out. If you have a reason that you really want that upgrade, just send your UID to our support staff by email or the support ticket, and we can have that upgrade available to you immediately. So yeah, I can go ahead and retrieve configurations and push that out to other areas on there. Let's take a look at that. So what I can do is I'll go over here to policies, and like I can create an alert. In my case, I have these 3 untangles, and they're all set up with VRRP. They're basically a failover for each one of them. So RC1 is the primary high availability box. If that for some reason will lock up or stop receiving messages, it will automatically switch over to my gateway RC2. So it's a quick way of providing hardware backup. So boxes in this VRRP are one of those cases where you really can use the policy pushes. One of the things that you can do is I say, for example, firewall. I want all of them. So I'll create a policy, and I'll say I want the RC1 DMZ policy to be used again. And what I can do is I can select that, and then I can set the policy, and then I can push it out to my other VRRP boxes. So that keeps all my high availability boxes in sync with the same policy as they're pushed out. It's quite a useful thing because it's very hard to keep the VRP. I mean, the things you can do is do like a backup and then restore it to the other boxes. But this way you can do it all through Command Center as you need to, and it will keep track and push the policies out as you update them. As, you can go through and select any of the policies from any box and push those out individually out to multiple boxes. It's one of the best parts of that. Upcoming, we're going to have something called policy templates, and it's going to be a policy wizard that will allow you to configure a policy with different settings and then have that pushed out to all your boxes. So if you have a particular threat that you're coming in and you want to push that all to your boxes, you want to send that out, you can do that through the wizard, and that'll be in an upcoming version of Command Center. So reports, aggregate reports, probably a very useful feature that you can look at different ways of doing it. You can look at your audit history, see what people have done on those particular boxes. It's kind of useful when you maybe have on-site admins, and you can look at Command Center for what the different admins have done to different boxes. So again, you can look at bandwidth control, and you can see, like we were looking at the front, where is most of the data being used in all your boxes. And this is really a combination of all your boxes put together. As you can see, Microsoft and YouTube take quite a point. You can also look at events with those different boxes. Like, okay, we can see we've had logins on those boxes. We can see this particular box has had the WAN go offline, and I can look at the time, and it tells me which specific WAN has gone down. So it's quite useful. I can look at several boxes all at the same time and get all my alerts. Obviously, we've had a couple of WAN downloads on those quite a bit. We can also look at hosts to see who's taking the most amount of bandwidth. Like I said, I would definitely look at this box to see why it's taking a considerable amount about data. Networking, I can look at my bandwidth, see how the bandwidth's going on. As you can see, most of the boxes are not doing very much, but I have one that's just taking a tremendous amount of bandwidth. I can look at web filter, look at the popular domains that it's going to. These are all, looks like all kinds of advertising. These two right here. Obviously Microsoft for the Windows updates, Google, general email. Looks like quite a few Firefox downloads. And then I would probably look at the other just to see where that data is going. Again, that's the aggregate data. You get 30 days of reporting, of combined reporting from all the boxes. Makes it quite easily to see, what's the average, where it's going, and I can look at the individual boxes to see what's happening there. Some of the tools available. So, some of the things you can do is, for example, I went to a website, don't know what's that about. Let's just say MSND. I can go ahead and do a search on that, and it will tell me some information. It's owned by Microsoft. Don't worry about the map because that just depends on where it's getting my particular connection. I can look at IPs and say, oh, where's that IP? So as you're looking at reports, you can go over tools and just kind of see, where that's going. I can see this is a public DNS run by Google. Again, pretty useful information on those different things. If I want to look at websites, what's that particular website? Of course, it's kind of an obvious one. I can get more information on it, some of the information directly about it. As you can see, they're using Amazon's content servers to distribute the data on different areas, and you can see where they're located. You can see what IP address I got in this particular moment. It just makes a really nice tool if you're trying to debug some questions and don't have to log in the boxes, don't have to get a command line to do like a who is on those different areas. Some of the upcoming features, like I said, the VRRP is kind of a very, very handy tool to use with the command center to use with VRRP, which is high deployment, so you can keep those in sync. This was done a little earlier, and actually we have multi-factor authentication already in the box. We'll probably do some kind of mobile, so you can get a text for the codes in the future. We're also looking at mobile access, either through a web browser on the mobile device, where it's a little more compact and a little bit better sizing for your mobile devices, or maybe something in an app, so forth in the future. How are the questions, Shannon?
Yeah, we have some questions. I think we have a couple partners online. So kind of want to maybe reiterate how this command center can be used, not just for partners, which it generally is for, but also companies that have multiple sites, maybe dispersed if they're throughout the country or state, wherever you may be. So maybe kind of want to go over some use cases on who would be most beneficial to using command center.
So yeah, it's definitely, if I personally have 8 boxes, as you can see on there, but I would say if I had 3 or more, this tool just makes it so much easier to manage them. I can log into one area, handle everything, handle my licenses, make configuration changes, all through the command center. I mean, it just makes it so much easier to use and so forth. Again, there's so many areas on this, and I know I went through them very quickly to go over them. But again, we're going to have this on on our website, and it's also available on YouTube. I'm personally on the forums often too much, and I'm more than glad to answer any specific questions you have when you're using Command Center or anything else part of the firewall to help you out on those.
Okay, great. There are some questions coming in about the policies. When you create a policy, do policies have to be created locally on a box prior to pushing them through Command Center, or are they created in Command Center itself?
That's a great question. So the answer is yes to both of them. And let me explain on that. So currently you do have to have the policies created on at least one box. And then you can push those out to the individual boxes. For example, here I went and grabbed the policy on this particular box, and I'm going ahead, and then I go ahead and select which boxes I want to push that out to. And that is the current way Command Center works. Very shortly, we're going to have what's known as a policy wizard, which will allow you to configure a policy and settings for any box, create that directly on Command Center, and then push that out to your boxes. So as you can see, we're very listening to your suggestions, and I realize, you know, the whole purpose of Command Center is so you don't have to log into your boxes. So we're making it more and more so that you can do everything, including creating policies on Command Center and then push those out to your boxes. So currently you do have to create it on your box, but within very shortly we will have that functionality in Command Center.
Great. I think some people have a little confusion on how they can get Command Center and how they can get their Untangle boxes to connected to Command Center. If you want to kind of briefly go over that.
Oh, sure. Sorry, I should have covered that. So Command Center comes with your account. You do have to have a couple things. So Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you have to have the complete license for your appliance, and then you just have to set the setting. So if you go over here to config and then system, I shouldn't pick this box because it's one of the slowest boxes I have, and then under support you want to have connect to cloud. This creates a encrypted tunnel to the Command Center servers at Untangle, and that provides the data stream that contains all the information of the reports. The remote configuration actually is just a HTTPS through that encrypted tunnel. So that creates the magic to connect your box to your particular account, and that tunnel is only connected to your account, and they're linked together through SSH encryption. So that's the key thing. So once you have the connected cloud, you should see it on the list of appliances. As you can see, this particular one is not connected to cloud, so it's not on the list, but it was connected at one point. So as you can see, all these are connected through the cloud back to my account, and that's how you can connect the two.
Great. There was also a question about the cost for Command Center. So you get up to the first 5 Untangle boxes that are on NG Firewall Complete included. And then after that, if you have a lot more boxes that you want to add, there is a pricing structure. All of our pricing for everything is online on our website. So if you want to go find out what that pricing is, you can go on our website and click the big blue buy tab in the top right, and you can kind of calculate and figure that out for yourself. Let's see. Are there SD-WAN capabilities, namely the ability to order web services based on priority to control bandwidth usage?
You can, yeah, that's part of the bandwidth control. So what you could do is set up a policy on one of the boxes that matches that using bandwidth control. And then you can, in turn, push that particular policy out to all your boxes. that would be under right here. So you would create that policy on one of your boxes, then select that policy based on whichever one you have, and then select that policy and then push that out to your other boxes. So we could get into the particular settings for bandwidth control. Either post it on the forum, or if you have support, contact support and they'll help you with that particular rule on your box. Then once you have that rule created on one box, you can use Command Center to push it out to all your boxes.
Great. There was a general question about policies available for URL and IP blocking, though I believe that is something that NG Firewall can do. So that would be something you would need to do there, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, so question was, are there policies available for URL and IP blocking?
Yes, that's in Web Filter. You can block the URL. You can block also portions of a URL. You could, for example, let's say you wanted people to be able to get to Google for search, but you don't want them to use maybe the Drive portion of it. You could actually block the URL, even though it has google.com in it. You could block the portion of the URL that actually goes to the Drive portion of it.
Great. So just to reiterate, NG Firewall is our is a network security platform for our UTM. So this command center is how you can manage all of those deployments. So it's kind of a all-in-one solution. If you have multiple sites that you need to manage, Command Center is really the best way to do that, unless you like logging into each site and managing it that way. I think that's all the questions we have for now. John, I don't know if you want to mention, if you didn't see the news, we did release some new X-Series appliances, if you want to kind of go over those.
Sure. So we have a new set of appliances. I could just tell you the performance on these is just absolutely amazing. I've actually tested full gigabit through them and incredible speeds. So we have the U25X, which has 2 ports. It's kind of nice for a small office, home use, where you don't need a lot of ports, or you're just doing it maybe in a bridge mode because your ISP router is already doing the NAT. Again, the W on the end of it, which is like the U25XW, just means it's the same box, but now you have wireless capabilities. So you'll be able to set up wireless connections to that box and for your lab. Then we have the U50 that comes with, it's too bad they don't show the other side, but there's actually 4 ports on the back, probably for a little bit larger office. Again, the performance is really stellar on there. These do not have any moving disk. They use a solid state chip, which is even better than SSD chip drive, so there's no moving parts. We expect really high reliability from these. Also the U50XW, again with a wireless on the back of it, being able to do wireless along with everything else. So like the U50W has 5 interfaces, the wireless, and then 4 actual physical NICs. Great performance. Just an incredible price we're able to offer those.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, those are introductory offer right now. So if you're interested or want to learn more about them, you can go to our website or give us a call and talk to one of our sales reps. They'll be happy to let you know which one would be best for your environment. We're very excited to be going to RSA this year. It's one of the largest security conferences in the country. It's in San Francisco. This year it's in April. So if you're coming to San Francisco or you live in the area, we'd love for you to stop by our booth where we have some exciting announcements that we'll be sharing during that week. So feel free to stop by. And we just want to, while we have your attention, offer some of our promotions that we have going on right now. We have a trade-in and trade-up program. So if you have an existing Untangle license or appliance and you want to, it's kind of old or it's not meeting your needs, you can give us a call and get some special pricing to trade up that subscription. Or if you have a competitor's product and you're looking at Untangle to replace that, we do also have some discounts for that. So give us a call, and they'll be happy to walk you through and figure out what would work best for you. And we know a lot of you use Untangle at home, which is awesome. And if you do bring us to work, there is some special pricing for that as well. So before you buy, make sure you call sales or email sales and make sure you're getting the best price for you. And just some resources to cover. We pretty much give you everything you could possibly imagine online. We have our video library, the YouTube channel where this video will be posted, as well as a whole bunch of other videos, Tech Talks, which are super technical, 101s, which are more high level, as well as information about our current release that John mentioned. We have the wiki, which is our technical documentation, the forums, which John mentioned earlier, is our open community. So if you have a question or you don't feel like talking to support, post your question on there. Someone may have already answered it or has a really quick answer for you. And as always, if you want to talk to us for any question, whether it be sales, support, a concern, a comment, anything, please email us, sales@untangle.com or support@untangle.com. We'd love to hear from you. And we have a couple webinars next week. We're very excited about Intro to NG Firewall. If you're not, if you know someone that's looking at a solution, please tell them to attend that. And then I think, John, next week you're doing one on our one of our new apps, Tunnel VPN, or sorry, it's on the reports and dashboards that you just kind of showed earlier. So we're very excited about that. Hope to see you there. And I think that's all the questions we have. So we'll say goodbye. Thanks, John, and have a great week, everyone.